Imagine this, you're at a dinner party. Someone asks you what you do for a living. You open your mouth and nothing. You fumble, you freeze, you mumble some incoherent word salad, and boom, your credibility just died faster than your New Year's resolution. Or maybe you're in a meeting, your boss looks straight at you and asks, "So what do you think?" And you're sweating bullets, mentally Googling how to quit your job in under 5 seconds. Here's the hard truth. Most people suck at talking on the spot. And no, it's not because they're introverted or shy or just not a people person. That's an excuse. You're not bad at impromptu speaking because of your personality. You're bad at it because you never learned how to do it. This is Think Faster, Talk Smarter by Matt Abrahams. And if you don't get your act together by the end of this video, you'll keep letting golden opportunities slip through your sweaty palms like a greased up bar of soap. Let's fix that. Look, if you're one of those people still clinging to the idea that communication is a soft skill, congratulations, you've already lost the game. In today's world, being able to think and speak clearly, especially under pressure, is a survival skill. It's not optional, it's not nice to have, it's your damn oxygen. The book we're about to crack open, Think Faster, Talk Smarter, was written by Matt Abrahams, a strategic communication professor at Stanford's Graduate School of Business, and the guy who basically invented the antidote to sounding like a malfunctioning robot in meetings, interviews, and everyday social life. Now, before we go further, disclaimer, this video falls under the Fair Use Act. We're breaking down ideas for educational purposes. This is not a summary. This is a dismantling, a reinvention. I'm not parroting Matt. I'm translating it through a lens that hits like a hammer and sticks like superglue. What you're getting here is real, relatable, and ruthlessly useful. The whole idea of this book, you don't need to be born charismatic, quick-witted, or slick. You just need a system, a method. And guess what? Matt gives us that. 6 powerful steps that turn awkward silences into sharp, spontaneous responses. And they're not fluff. These are tools built from real research, real classrooms, and real-world chaos. This isn't about memorizing scripts or delivering TED Talk perfection. This is about owning the moment when the spotlight hits you. It's about mastering spontaneous communication, the stuff that derails most people and ruins their chances. And let me be clear, this book, it's not just for speakers or extroverts or job hunters, it's for humans, because life will throw curveballs and how you respond when you're unprepared will define who you become. Calm the chaos, command the room. Most people walk into a room and think the spotlight is their enemy. The sweaty palms, the racing heart, the deafening silence right before you open your mouth, that's where most people fold. But here's the truth, no one told you in school. Your panic is not the problem. Your panic is the plan. That fight or flight response your body throws at you. It's your body throwing you the mic and screaming, "Do something meaningful with this." Let's be real. You're not scared of speaking. You're scared of being seen. That awkward coffee chat, that unexpected question in a Zoom call, that dinner party with a future investor 3 seats away. It's not the speaking that terrifies you. It's the terrifying possibility that they might actually hear you. We've been lied to. Somewhere along the line, people told us that only the confident get to speak, that you need to feel ready before you sound ready. Bullshit. Confidence doesn't come first. Calm does. What this book reminds us, and what I'm screaming through your screen right now, is this. Calm is not the absence of anxiety. It's control over it. Matt Abrahams doesn't waste time pretending your nerves don't matter. He throws them under a microscope and dissects them like a frog in high school biology. He tells you anxiety has 3 ugly heads. Affective, your feelings, behavioral, your awkward, twitchy movements, and cognitive, your brain sprinting toward the exit. And unless you learn to wrestle those down, you'll keep freezing, choking, and playing the mute version of the amazing communicator hiding inside you. Let me guess, someone asked you, "So what do you do?" And your brain had the same energy as a buffering YouTube video on hotel Wi-Fi. You panicked. You said something safe, something bland. "I'm in finance." Cool, bro. You just erased yourself from their memory faster than a Snapchat story. The book calls out this truth. If you can't manage your nerves, you'll never manage a room. And not managing them doesn't mean becoming fearless. It means recognizing your fear is just a signal, not a stop sign. Want to shut your anxiety up? Don't fight it. Name it. Literally. Say, I'm anxious. You want a psychological hack? Try saying, I'm excited instead. Same energy, new frame. Try it before your next presentation. Instead of, oh crap, I'm gonna bomb, say, I'm fired up. Your body already thinks it's go time. You might as well agree with it. Now here's the part most people ignore. It's not just about silencing anxiety. It's about preparing for it like it's a guest you expect to crash the party. Wanna know how? Build a damn AMP, an anxiety management plan. One that's as personal as your coffee order. Maybe it's a mantra. Maybe it's pacing your breath like you're doing yoga in a war zone. Maybe it's gripping a cold water bottle like it's a stress ball with hydration perks. But whatever it is, it's yours. You do not walk into the arena unarmed. And yes, Abrahams throws in the ABCs of anxiety: affective, behavioral, and cognitive symptoms. But let's give them meaning in our terms. Affective? That's your inner drama queen screaming, they're judging you. Behavioral? That's your jittery limbs turning your body into interpretive dance. And cognitive? That's your brain locking all the doors and flushing the key mid-sentence. Now, let's shift gears. Because we've tackled the war zone of your brain, now let's talk about the art of the sneak attack. Small talk. Most people treat it like a meaningless filler, but you're not most people. If you master small talk, you don't just talk. You control the temperature in the room. You build bridges in 10-second conversations. You own silence like it's your signature move. Matt tells you that small talk isn't about the words, it's about connection. And if your small talk sucks, it's not because you're awkward, it's because you're selfish. Yeah, I said it. You're focused on sounding smart instead of making the other person feel seen. Want to level up instantly? Ask better questions. Not the lame, so what do you do? Garbage, but something like, what's keeping you busy lately? Or what's your favorite part of what you do? You think asking deeper questions will make things awkward? Newsflash. Awkward is not asking anything at all. Awkward is staring at your drink and praying for an asteroid. Stop fearing connection and start initiating it. The book gives you tactical strategies, like using the HERE framework. Hear, explore, reveal, and evaluate. But I'll give it to you straight. If you leave a conversation and the other person doesn't feel like the main character, you lost. You don't need to be the funniest person in the room. You need to be the one who listens like you give a damn. Because while everyone else is performing, you'll be building trust. And when people trust you, they'll follow you. Into meetings, into deals, into relationships that actually matter. And here's the hard-earned truth. Nobody is born charismatic. Nobody pops out of the womb giving TED Talks. Charisma is built in micro moments, in small talk that turns into big impact, in tiny breaths taken before you speak, in the silent decision to show up, not perfectly, but prepared. If you can breathe, you can speak. If you can calm the noise, you can lead the room. And if you can make someone feel something in 30 seconds flat, you're already 10 times more powerful than the smartest person choking on bullet points and buzzwords. Key takeaway: you don't need to be fearless to be unforgettable. You just need to show up calm, stay present, and let people feel seen. The world doesn't need another perfect answer. It needs a real human who's willing to speak, shake, and still be heard. Favorite quote: you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be present. Embrace mediocrity, then elevate it. Look around. Everyone's either teetering under the pressure to be perfect or hiding because they're terrified they're not. Nobody starts flawless. That's why this book slams you with a brutal but liberating truth. Most greatness is born out of mediocrity, showing up. It doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with showing up average, then turning that average into something unforgettable. The author shatters this myth by calling out our obsession with brilliance. He even introduces this ridiculous icebreaker called Shout the Wrong Name, where participants purposefully say the wrong label for things. It's chaotic, humiliating, and exactly the point: to break your mental autopilot. Your brain loves patterns so much it will repeatedly hit the same autopilot answer, even if it's wrong. Only by screwing up on purpose do you open space for genuine creativity and responsiveness. Most of us live by heuristics, mental shortcuts that keep us within our comfort zones. But spontaneous moments don't care about your comfort. They demand presence, originality, authenticity. You want to nail a toast at a wedding without sounding like a recited greeting card? You have to ditch the heuristic voice, because when you stick to the script, you stop being you. The book's core message here: you don't need brilliance to begin, just momentum. Begin with the mediocre. Let the nerves churn. Let the words stumble out. That stumble could be the spark that ignites something memorable. Hell, the author even says, the more mediocre you give yourself permission to be, the better, more compelling a speaker you become. That's not permission to be lazy, that's permission to start. Then you layer on presence, humor, and guts. That's how average becomes iconic. Take those toasts, short speeches by design, but they smack with impact. The author gives us the what formula. What, why we're here, how you know them, anecdote or learning, thank. It's tight. It keeps the focus on others, not your sweaty fear, think fast, talk smart. But the magic comes when you inject you. A tiny personal jab, a laugh, a raw moment of authenticity. A mediocre structure, elevated by your presence, becomes unforgettable. Let's bridge that to real life. You at a friend's wedding, sweating because you're not a speaker. Use the WHAT framework. Keep it simple. This is why we're here. This is who they are to you. Here's a funny real story, and here's the thanks. No fluff, no ego. People want real. Trust that. The transformative punch? Perfection is the enemy of memorable. People don't remember perfection. They remember you. The real, flawed, hilarious, human you. And the minute you accept imperfection, you free up cognitive space to actually think about others, to connect, to elevate that mediocre into magic. Here's the test. Say the wrong name on purpose once at your next meeting. See how your brain freaks out. That's your pattern lock showing its face. Now break it. Own the screw up. Watch as people around you relax. You just gave everyone permission, not only to accept flaws, but to find genuine connection. Key takeaway: great starts from the middle, not the mountaintop. Show up average, then elevate it with presence, structure, and realness. That's how toasts, pitches, and conversations start memorable. Favorite quote: the more mediocre you give yourself permission to be, the better, more compelling a speaker you become. Flip the script in your mind first. Your brain's default setting before a pitch: holy shit, I need to be perfect. You bombard yourself with data, bullet points, pie charts, and worst case scenarios. And when you finally stand up, your voice shakes, your slides feel like concrete, and your audience is checking their watches. Why? Because you built a cage of pressure in your head that has no door. Matt Abrahams smashes that cage with a truth so obvious it's been hiding in plain sight. Your story sells, but only if you believe it first. The real pitch, he argues, and I'm adding the fire here, is mental. You're either pitching from a position of anxiety, trying to defend yourself, or pitching from a position of purpose, trying to connect. One terrifies you, the other empowers you. He digs into the concept of mindset shifts, not fluff, but tactical rewiring. First, drop the yes, but self-sabotage. Shift to a yes and mindset. Instead of thinking, yes, I have data, but they probably already heard it. Start with, yes, I have insights, and here's why they matter to them. It flips you from performance anxiety to genuine contribution. He also highlights reframing anxiety as opportunity. Remember that adrenaline? The same chemical that makes your heart race can sharpen your instincts, fuel your presence, and amplify your authenticity if you let it. Reframing is not positive thinking, it's tactical redirection. Anxiety becomes excitement, becomes edge. Then we get into the structure of the pitch itself. No, don't memorize 6 pages of script, that's brittle. Instead, use the what so what now flow. What? Here's the situation. So what? Here's why it matters now. Now what? Here's what we do next. Tight, human, meaningful. You see, structure doesn't kill spontaneity, it supports it. Abrahams backs this with examples, like entrepreneurs who start rambling through features until the investor's eyes glaze over. Then they learn to start with the story, the problem they're solving, the tension they're releasing. Suddenly, the investor leans in because it isn't about features, it's about impact. Here's where I inject some reality. You're not pitching in a vacuum. You're doing it in the war zone of Zoom fatigue, 9 a.m. slap in the face, skepticism, cynicism, and a million slides begging for attention. So if your pitch doesn't have purpose and presence, you don't get remembered. Worse, you get forgotten. Think about it. When's the last time you remembered a pitch with zero narrative? Exactly. People don't buy data, they buy journey. So even if your stats are flawed, if your story lands, your message sticks. Now add the author's twist. Imperfect pitches beat perfect flops. Practice, yes. Preparation, yes. But don't aim for polished. Aim for persuasive. Give the audience a gap to fill with their own interpretation. Let them lean in. Let them ask questions. Because a pitch without connection is just noise. Let me hit you with the hard question. Are you pitching from pressure or from purpose? If it's the former, drop the data dump and do some mindset work first. Rewire how you show up mentally before you worry about slide layouts. Key takeaway: great pitches start in the mind. Choose purpose over pressure and story over stats. Use purpose first structure, what so what now what, and embrace imperfection as your ally in connection. Favorite quote: your story sells, but only if you believe it first. Listen like a leader, answer like a human. Most people treat conversations like competitions. Someone asks a question and boom, you're off to the races, sprinting to say something impressive before you even hear the second half of the sentence. Here's the punchline. Nobody cares how fast you answer. They care how real you are when you do. Let me say that again, slower. For the overthinkers in the back, you're not being tested on speed. You're being evaluated on your ability to connect. And if your answer feels like a performance instead of a response, congrats, you just failed the vibe check. Matt Abrahams cuts deep into the myth that the smartest answer is the fastest one. What if I told you the most powerful tool in communication isn't cleverness, it's silence? That's right, the pause, the breath, the let me think about that. But our egos hate silence. Our brains panic and think if we don't immediately answer, people will assume we're dumb, unprepared, or weak. Wrong. You know what silence actually says? Control, confidence, clarity. Silence is what separates the amateurs from the assassins. In Q&As, meetings, and everyday interactions, most people treat questions like landmines. They hear one, freak out, and try to defuse it before it explodes. But that's not leadership, that's survival. Leaders don't just respond, they absorb, clarify, and then answer with purpose. The book emphasizes listening with intention. And yeah, that means you might have to stop thinking about your reply long enough to actually hear the damn question. Matt introduces the LACE framework for handling Q&As: listen, acknowledge, clarify, and explain. Sounds simple, but let's call it what it really is: a blueprint for not sounding like a robotic know-it-all. Listening is the art of shutting up and tuning in. Acknowledging shows the asker you're not steamrolling them. Clarifying gets rid of vagueness and assumptions. And explaining, well, that's where the gold happens. When you answer after really understanding the question, you actually build trust, not just toss information. Now let's add some pressure. You're on stage. Someone asks a curveball question. Your instinct is to ramble. Stop. Rambling is fear wearing a lab coat. You think if you say enough stuff, eventually you'll say something smart. That's not strategy, that's panic in a blazer. The book hits this hard. Rambling kills credibility. People stop listening. You dilute your message. You turn sharp insights into word soup. So what do you do instead? Start by buying time on purpose. Matt recommends phrases like, "That's a great question. Let me reflect on that for a second." Or, "Here's what I'm thinking based on what you asked." These aren't stalling tactics. They're signal flares of thoughtfulness. They tell people, I care enough not to wing it. And here's the twist you don't expect. You don't have to know everything. Saying, I don't know, but here's how I'd find out is not weakness. It's honest strategy. It invites collaboration. It makes you human. Nobody's inspired by a walking Wikipedia page. We're drawn to people who own what they know and what they don't. When handling hostile questions, Abrahams reminds us, resist the urge to swing back. Defensive energy always sounds smaller. Instead, reframe. Seek to understand before being understood. Sometimes the person throwing shade just wants to be heard. Hear them, then respond like a professional, not a provoked teenager. Don't fight the flame. Smother it with poise. You want to sound smart in Q&A? Be human first, smart second. Strip the jargon. Don't solve world hunger in one paragraph. Answer what was actually asked. And if you can make someone feel seen while doing it, you've already won the moment. This goes deeper than Q&A. This is about a mindset shift. One where communication isn't just about saying stuff, but making someone feel understood in real time. It's not just tactical, it's emotional. People don't remember your exact words. They remember how those words made them feel. Here's your challenge. Next time someone asks you something, pause, breathe. Don't race to be clever. Just be clear, and above all, be a damn human. Key takeaway. The smartest answer isn't the fastest, it's the most present. Slow down, listen harder, and answer with clarity, not ego. Favorite quote, you're not answering questions, you're building trust. Structure the message, not the moment. If you're the kind of person who thinks winging it is a flex, congrats. You're exactly why meetings go off the rails and feedback lands like a slap instead of a strategy. You don't win respect by talking fast or dropping big words. You win it by knowing exactly what the hell you're trying to say before your mouth opens. And that's where people screw up the most. Not because they don't know what to say, but because they didn't structure it. They didn't design the moment. They just showed up and hoped for magic. That's not leadership. That's lazy. Matt Abrahams doesn't just suggest structure, he treats it like oxygen. And he's right. When everything feels chaotic, structure is what slices through the noise. It's what separates leaders from ramblers and clarity from confusion. If you're not structuring your message, you're not communicating. You're just talking out loud and praying someone understands you. Spoiler, they don't. The moment you're asked to give feedback, whether it's to a colleague, a student, or your own damn boss, you've got two options. Throw words like spaghetti at the wall, or land a message that sticks like a dart. The secret? Stop trying to be clever and get strategic. Your message needs a spine. Matt introduces frameworks like what, so what, now what, and prep. Point, reason, example, point again. And I'll be blunt. If you're not using one of these, you're setting yourself up to be misunderstood. These aren't formulas for robots, they're weapons for clarity. They keep your message sharp, focused, and impossible to ignore. Let's put that into a brutal reality check. Most feedback sucks. It's either too vague, you did fine, too aggressive, that was a mess, or drenched in fake positivity. You're doing so great, but also everything is wrong. None of that helps. None of that lands, and none of that builds trust. Matt says feedback should be wrapped in structure, but laced with empathy. That's not code for sugarcoating. It's about being precise without being petty. You don't walk up and say, that presentation was trash. You say, the message didn't land because it lacked clear structure, and here's how to fix it. Big difference. One stabs, the other elevates. You want to give feedback that actually transforms people? You need to earn the right to speak into their performance, and that starts with framing. Start with the context. Here's what I noticed, then move into impact. Here's why it matters, then wrap it with action. Here's what to do about it. This isn't overkill, this is leadership with a damn plan. But most of you aren't even present when you give feedback. You're rushing, you're distracted, you're nervous. Guess what? If you don't treat feedback like a moment that matters, neither will the person hearing it. And the kicker? Feedback isn't about performance, it's about connection. If the other person doesn't feel seen, you wasted your words. Now let's talk delivery. Structure is worthless if your tone sucks. People don't just hear your words, they feel them. Say something structured with the wrong tone and it still flops. sound like a bossy micromanager or a condescending know-it-all, and even the best feedback gets filtered through resentment. Matt's point here is gold. Structure and empathy aren't opposites, they're twins. And let's not ignore the feedback you give yourself. That inner monologue, it needs structure too. Instead of spiraling into, that meeting was a disaster, try, what went wrong, why did it matter, and what can I do differently next time? Same frameworks, just turned inward. Self-feedback is where real communication mastery begins. Too many people confuse being unfiltered with being honest, but honesty without structure is chaos. It's dumping raw data into someone's lap and expecting them to figure it out. That's not communication, that's intellectual laziness. You want to lead? You want to be remembered? Then speak like someone who gave a damn about how the message landed. You don't need a script, you need a map. A message without structure is just noise, but a message with structure, that's a message that moves people. Key takeaway, if you're not structuring what you say, you're setting it up to fail. Clarity wins, empathy delivers, and structure is what makes both land with impact. Favorite quote, chaos is the enemy, clarity is your secret weapon. Focus like a laser, apologize like you mean it. Let's cut the crap. Most of your communication fails not because you're dumb or boring or didn't prepare. It fails because you're distracted. You're in 10 places at once. Your mouth is moving, but your brain's doom scrolling. You're halfway through a conversation while mentally rehearsing what you'll say in the next one. And guess what? Everyone notices, because unfocused communication feels like static, loud, meaningless, and forgettable. Matt Abrahams doesn't just suggest focus, he demands it. Because in a world addicted to multitasking and verbal diarrhea, focus has become a superpower, and you don't develop it by accident, you sharpen it, ruthlessly. Focus isn't just about attention, it's about intention. It's about being so locked in on what you're trying to say that anything else, ego, fear, fluff, gets out of the way. Most people start talking before they've even figured out what the hell they're trying to say. That's how we end up with waffle, jargon, and sorry, what was the question again? You want to sound like a leader? Then act like one. Focus doesn't mean scripted, it means strategic. It means your words land like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. And most importantly, it means you only speak when you have something worth saying. Now let's talk about the one moment people fumble harder than any other, the apology. Most apologies suck. They're vague, defensive, performative. I'm sorry if you felt that way. No, you're not. That's not an apology. That's linguistic gaslighting. You know what a real apology sounds like? I messed up. Here's what I did. Here's how it affected you. And here's what I'm doing to fix it. Short, clean, ownership. That's what Matt drives home like a freight train. Apologies aren't about erasing discomfort. They're about embracing it with clarity. The reason most apologies collapse is because people try to cover all their emotional tracks at once. They want to say, I'm sorry, and also, but here's why I'm still right. You can't do both. You can either protect your ego or repair the relationship. Not both. Pick one. The book gives a structure, but more than that, it gives a mindset. Start with intent. Are you here to heal or defend? Then hit with direct language. Don't overtalk. Don't soften the edges. Be precise. Real apologies don't meander. They land. And let's not skip over focus again, because when you're under pressure, when you've hurt someone, when the stakes are high, that's when your focus is most fragile. That's when it tries to slip away into fear, shame, or blame, which means you need to lock it down harder. Breathe. Choose your words. Speak slower. Be laser specific. This isn't about sounding polished, it's about sounding human. There's also something powerful in knowing when to shut up. Matt makes it clear, sometimes the most powerful part of an apology isn't the words, it's the silence afterward. That's when the other person feels it. That's when the weight of your words actually lands. If you rush to fill that silence, you cheapen it. Don't rush the landing, let it breathe. If you think this only matters when you're wrong, you've missed the point. These moments of focused, clear, precise communication are leadership. They show up in apologies, but also in corrections, presentations, farewells, coaching sessions, hell, even parenting. Focused speech feels different. It's rare. It's respected. It cuts through the noise like a scalpel in a shouting match. This book doesn't just want you to talk faster, it wants you to talk smarter, which means knowing what not to say, when to pause, and when to own your damn mistakes without soft peddling the truth. So here's your final gut check. Are you speaking to perform or to connect? Are you throwing words around hoping something sticks, or are you cutting to the truth with precision and purpose? Are you apologizing to feel better or to do better? You don't need a script to sound powerful. You need clarity, you need intention, and when things go sideways, you need the guts to say, that was on me, and here's how I fix it. Key takeaway: the most powerful communication is precise, focused, and unapologetically human. Own your words, especially the ones that begin with, I'm sorry. Favorite quote: a real apology doesn't wander, it lands. Conclusion. So let me ask you straight, are you going to keep talking like you're afraid of your own voice, or are you finally going to show up like someone with something to say? Because if there's one thing Think Faster, Talk Smarter slaps you with, it's this. Communication is not reserved for the gifted, the natural, or the loudest person in the room. It's a damn skill. You can learn it, you can train it, you can sharpen it like a blade, and if you don't, someone less talented, less prepared, and more audacious will speak in your place, and guess what? They'll get the credit, they'll close the deal, they'll lead the team, not because they're better, because they used their voice when you muted yours. Matt Abrahams didn't write this book to make you sound smarter. He wrote it to wake you up, to give you the blueprint for walking into any moment, job interviews, awkward toast, high-stakes meetings, brutal Q&As, or that one time your ex shows up at the same party, and owning it like someone who belongs there. He showed you how to tame your anxiety without pretending it doesn't exist, how to take average and turn it into unforgettable, how to pitch with purpose, not pressure, how to listen without trying to one-up, how to give feedback that doesn't flop, and how to apologize like someone who means it, not someone just trying to save face. You got the tools. You got the mindset, but here's the uncomfortable truth. None of it means anything if you don't do something with it. You don't need another motivational quote. You need repetition. You need reps. You need to suck a little bit, then suck a little less, then keep showing up until people stop saying you're shy and start saying, damn, you're sharp. And if this breakdown lit even a single fire under your self-doubt, go buy the damn book. Seriously. Support the author. Dog-ear it. Highlight it. Read it in public like you're flexing. It's not just information, it's equipment, and it belongs in your arsenal. If this breakdown hit you hard, do one thing right now. Like, comment, subscribe, because let's be real, you're not here to be average. You're here because something inside you is done being silent, and we're just getting started. This channel is for the ones who got passed up, overlooked, talked over, for the ones who stuttered through their moment and walked away wishing they could rewind. That ends here. Now take what you've learned and go speak like you mean it.